Hey guys, so the market just closed here a few minutes ago, and I kind of want to talk about AMD stock and kind of try to explain why they've been on such a high uptrend in the last few days to weeks time, and kind of show you how you can potentially profit from a big mover like AMD in the short run and long run through swing trading and through other type of long-term investing that is very honestly easy to spot on a stock like AMD. Now, one of the main things that we should look at is the fact that they are up almost $4 to $5 here in the last week. However, that is almost the same amount that they're up here in the last month. So that kind of begs the question why they keep going up and down and up and down, and they're so volatile over the last week to month time frame here. And one of the main reasons is because of the fact that the US has been in a small scale trade war with China, and because of the fact that there are a lot of other microprocessor companies and other companies in the sector that AMD is in kind of fighting for control and kind of fighting to be the top dog. And now that we've seen Apple kind of say that they are not going to be using AMD technology in their next line of products, it's kind of been hurting the brand over the last few weeks. However, there's a lot of people who still realize that this stock has a lot of upwards potential because of the fact that they've been able to establish themselves as a large player in the microchip device sector here. So yeah, guys, honestly, AMD has a lot of upwards and downwards pressure at the same time, and we've seen that play out over the last few weeks here. Now, just on the 3 month chart, you can kind of tell how up and down things have been. However, I kind of want to show you guys one specific thing here, and that one specific thing is that it is not a coincidence that AMD always comes up to this $57 range. You can see that they've come up to it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times in the last 3 months. So that's potentially 5 times that you could have profited over $6 here just trading AMD stock and in a very short amount of time. Now, one of the main things that I do want to tell people is that you cannot make this type of analysis on Robinhood. You need to use a separate platform to kind of see these ups and downs better and to kind of realize that this is not just a singular trend or a week where they're suddenly going to be worth $100 here. It is simply a single part of a larger trend that we've been seeing over the last 3 months, and especially now that's repeating since we're only around 8 or 9 days away from their earnings report here, and they're expected to have very good earnings. Now, AMD as a stock, you can see here that I have them marked out over the 1 hour time frame. And ever since after they had a consolidation period, they had a huge period of growth around January of this year where they were kind of coming up to the price that they were worth before the economic downturn. However, we saw one period of consolidation, and I was very willing to buy in at this period as I thought they were going to be able to continue pulling up to what they were worth before. However, would rather wait, and I waited until they entered the second period of consolidation here. And you can see ever since they've entered around February 20th, around 3 months ago, 2 months ago, they've been trading between this $49 range and this $57 range extremely consistently here. Now, you can see that they did have a time where they dipped below, probably when the market was pulling back a bit and when this news about Apple dropping AMD as a brand kind of came out. However, you can see that their price strength was quick to recover, and they've been able to come back to the upside and even to their highest price here in the last few weeks. And honestly, guys, this is what I'm trying to say is that they have been at their highs here and repeating their highs for around the last 3 months. And one of the things that you really have to watch for is whether or not you're coming in on a good position here. Now, if you did buy in today, you can see that this price level of 57.41 has already tested once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times in the last 3 months and hasn't been broken. So what is telling you that now that you bought in, all of a sudden AMD is going to break this price and you're going to be making a substantial profit off a trade that could really only net you around $3 here in the short run? Now, one of the things that I would say is that if you bought this trade around the $50 mark, yes, this is a very good time to hold your position and kind of see whether or not AMD can break above. as they've already tested this level multiple times. And the more times that a stock tests a certain level, the likelier it is to break here. Now, AMD is one of those stocks that has been blessed with being between this channel for over 3 months' time and continuing to be within this range, allowing investors to profit off every single leg of the trade. Every time they sell off back to this bottom, then you made money. Every time they came up to this top, then you made money. And honestly, guys, if you are not able to identify these type of patterns and these type of ranges, then I would be very, very careful on investing into any stock, as you won't be able to know if you're simply taking a gamble or if you're coming in at the best possible time. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I just wait for a sell-off, I wait for a pullback, and then I come in. Well, let's put that to the test here. Let's say you waited to here and then you saw this brief consolidation period of around 2 or 3 days. Well, look, you lost money. Let's say you waited here and you saw this big dip and you bounced. Well, if you held it without even knowing where the top of the range was, well, ultimately you lost money. Let's say you waited for this pullback at the high of their range and then you waited for them to come back. Okay, you waited for this consolidation. Well, guess what? You lost money here. So there's always going to be a better time and a worse time to enter a trade. And for AMD, the best time to enter is around the $50 price mark. The best time to leave the trade is around the 57. Now, I do think that we are going to see a new range established here when they do come out with their earnings in around 8 days. However, I wouldn't expect them to break this level in the next 8 days unless we start to get some kind of advance notice that AMD is going to be doing something special in their earnings report here. Now, obviously, like I said, I do think they will be doing very well in their earnings report. However, AMD is at the same price of what they were before the economic downturn. So what that kind of means here, guys, is that if we are going to see a break of this level, we need to see substantially better earnings than what they were making maybe 1, 2, or 3 quarters back to around February or January of last year. So if we come to their chart here back on Robinhood, you can see that around quarter 3 of 2019, quarter 4 of 2019, they were making around 32 cents a share. So that's a very, very tall order for a company like AMD to repeat, especially now that we're seeing a lot lower sales in the US as the economy continues to recover very, very slowly here from the economic downturn. So last quarter we saw 11, which is consistent with quarter 3 of 2021. Now, if we do see around 10 or 9 cents a share here, we are going to see an immediate pullback on AMD stock, like I said, probably to around the $50 range here, or maybe they might even be able to retest this lower range if we are seeing a lot of weakness with their earnings. You can see exactly this weakness that could happen just looking at what happened with Netflix. All it took was their CEO to kind of announce that he was shaky on whether or not new consumers would sign up with their product in the next few months, and Netflix stock dropped like an absolute rock. So yeah, guys, that's what you have to keep a close eye on here for AMD if you are trading them within the next 10 to 20 days time frame, as this earnings is going to be very substantial for them to be breaking the $57 range or potentially coming below the $49 here and testing back to the 38. Now, if they do test back to the 38, there's no doubt in my mind I'll be picking up around 200 shares of this company, as they've been proven to be a winner overall. Now, that's the difference between a company like AMD and a company like Hertz. When Hertz is sold off beyond repair, I do not even consider buying them as a company. I consider selling them off, and if I was even going to consider holding their shares, then they'd have to pay me. That's all I can say, because that company is dead in the water. Other companies like Luckin Coffee, completely dead in the water. They don't have any sort of upwards momentum or any sort of bullish pattern that is kind of giving us an indication that they could recover. However, with AMD, if we go back to the 1-hour chart here, you can see that even as they were selling off to the $38 range in the last month, they were always giving signs of recovery. You can see that they bounced all the way down, and like I always tell you guys, once a stock breaks through a level of support or a level of resistance, then the next time that the stock tests that level, it is going to be flipped. So if before it was a support, then now it is going to be a resistance when the stock comes back up. And you can see that's exactly what happened here. They retested on this $49 level, weren't able to pull through, and instead came back again, came back up all the way to around this 45, then came all the way down to the 37. So even when they were selling off, all these sell-off moves were followed by a overreaction and a pullback move here in the next few days after. So what that shows you is that there's a lot of investors who are trying to see AMD continue in the upwards direction and potentially come to new highs here in the next few weeks. You just have to keep a close eye out so you can get in on the best time and the best position here within the next few days. Now, like I said, guys, if you see this $50 range retest, there's a very good chance that with their earnings, they are going to see a lot of upwards momentum in the next few days following after July 28th when they do release their earnings report. So that's honestly going to be what I would watch out for if I was trading AMD within the next few days. You want to get in on the best position. If you can get in for 50, then you know that your position is at least safe and is going to be rocketing down maybe if there are bad earnings. However, you can expect a pullback right after, so I wouldn't panic sell. As you can see here, people really panic sold. And you can see that when the last earnings reports were coming in, they did have a small pullback, similar to the one we saw here. However, in the days following, they rocketed upwards, and that's exactly what we're kind of seeing here as they kind of run up to their earnings report by what you can see with the E. So it's kind of important to continue watching for their earnings, continue watching these key levels on the stock, and try to always get in on a good position as you kind of want to make sure you're not at a max risk when you buy at these new high levels and at these top price levels on any stock. So yeah, guys, as always, it is key to be looking at these levels. It is key to know whether or not you're coming in at a good or bad position, have an exit plan and an entry plan. As always, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe the video, and thanks for watching.